So let's get this show started, shall we? I think everything has been resolved. But because of technical difficulties, some of y'all didn't hear the scripture. We coming from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, verses 32 through 37. And it's a very, very old, it's a popular story, the David and Goliath. Everybody know this story. Whether you grew up in the church house or grew up in a trap house, you know, you know about David and Goliath. I feel like babies come out the womb knowing about David and Goliath. And we talk about how Goliath was this 9'9" beast, the size of that's the height of a basketball goal. And how David defeated him with just a little slingshot. Now, I never used a slingshot before, so I'm pretty sure that's very impressive. But we can get so fixated on victories, get so fixated on the success that we overlook the most important piece, and that's the process. And that's how God prepared David for this battle with Goliath. That's the most important piece, how God will prepare you, use where you at to prepare you for where he wants to take you. That's right. And that's the most, we get so caught up on people's success. And I tell people all the time, study how they got to where they got to. Study how, you see the orchestra, but you don't see the recitals. You see the concerts, you don't see the rehearsal. You see the games, but you don't see the practice. It's all about what's done behind the scenes. You see the Netflix specials, but you don't see the open mics. God prepares you in private to show you off in public. What you see when you're looking at somebody and their success, what you see is a byproduct of what they've done during the preparation process. Like in 2018, I went to Coachella, aka Baychella, and I saw Beyonce perform, and it was a great performance, a wonderful homecoming performance. And what made me appreciate that performance much more was when she released the documentary. And I saw the behind the scenes. And I saw for that 2-hour performance, just get this in mind, for that 2-hour performance, it took 8 months of rehearsal. So it's all about what you do behind the scenes. It's all about the process that you need to study, because you're looking at what the final product, but you don't see the process. So what we saw was a battle with Goliath, but we didn't see the battles with the bears and the battles with the lions that prepared David for Goliath. So I'm pretty sure if this was in 2020, David and Goliath, and we sat him down and interviewed him, and we asked him about, we told him, hey, man, what you did was, man, that was crazy, the way you defeated Goliath. He said, man, that was nothing new. I've been doing stuff like that. What you see is just something I've been doing the entire time. It's just now on a platform. So this is nothing new to me. So what you see is old to me, but it's new to you. And that's what the title of my sermon is. Old to me, new to you. Old to me, new to you. Some of us use that caption before on social media. It's a very popular caption on Instagram. You'll post a picture of yourself, and you'll leave a caption, old to me, new to you, basically meaning, look, I've been had this picture. I knew I possessed this picture, so it's old to me, but now that I put it on a platform, it's new to you. All because this is your first time seeing it does not mean it's new to me. I knew what I possessed. I know what I've been through. I know what I've been doing when no one was looking, but now that it's on a platform, it's new to you. But I've been doing this. God has been preparing me. God has been showing me and giving me the confidence I need. So by the time you see it, I already know what I can do. All because it's your first time seeing it does not mean it's new to that person. When you have a relationship with God and God is grooming you in a process, so by the time the battle come or where he wants to take you and you're on that level of purpose, people think, oh, man, this is new to you. No. I've been doing this. Right. I have. Me and God been doing this all way back in the day. Y'all are just now seeing it. A platform is just a raised position that you put something on. So when we, like for example, we got a camera, we got a tripod. The tripod was sitting on the floor, was mounted on the floor, and the main job of the camera was to record. Just record me. That's the main job of the camera, record. And then we got a platform. We put the camera on a platform. The job did not change. It's still recording me, but at a higher position. So that's all a platform is. A platform is just a higher position of something you've already been doing. So it kills me when people say, when I get big, when I get this level of fame, I'm going to start giving back to my community. I'm going to start being more generous with my money. If you're not doing it now, you're not going to do it then. You should work on your heart now when you're at the level 0. So by the time you get to level 1, it's nothing new. A platform just intensifies the person you are. That's all it does. So when you exercise everything you've been doing in the unknown, when you had no name or behind the scenes when no one was looking, you can look people when it's time for God to reveal you and put you on that platform. You can look at people and say, what I'm doing is nothing new. What I'm doing is old to me, but it's new to you. See, David was not afraid of the moment. David was not afraid to fight Goliath because he knew what he had in him the entire time. He knew what God has brought him through. So he had all the confidence he needed to fight Goliath, and he had all the courage. He knew he was well equipped for this battle. See, and let's be honest right now. Some of us are not where we want to be in life. Some of us are not living that life that of abundance that we want, or we want God to put us on because of our lack of courage. You know, you feel like you're not smart enough. You feel like you're not pretty enough. You feel like you're not talented enough. You feel like you're not equipped enough. But if God brings you an opportunity, you're more than prepared for it. He's preparing you right now. You don't even know it. Everything you're going through right now is preparing you for where he wants to take you. God has been preparing you for this moment. You're more prepared than you think. Because there will always be fear. There will always be some level of fear. Fear is not going anywhere. Fear is going always, as long as we walking with God, as long as we building a relationship with God and wanting to grow in our relationship with Christ, he's going to take us places that scare us. He's going to take us places outside of our norm, outside of our comfort zone. So fear is going to, as long as you want to grow, you're going to have to face your fear. Because fear is a part of growth. You cannot grow without facing your fear. I know you're afraid a little bit, but hey, just move forward. If God puts something on your heart and it scares you, you should get excited. Because you know you can't do this without God. And you should know that God has been preparing you. He's not going to bring you to a door that you're not ready for. So when you're receiving that opportunity, when you see something coming towards you, or you're facing a battle, you're facing a mountain, God has already prepared you to conquer this. That's right. You just have to overcome your fear. When God was preparing Joshua to take his people into the promised land, he told Joshua, and it's a very, very, very familiar verse, Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Do you really believe that? Do you believe that God is with you wherever you go? God is saying be strong and courageous, because that's what courage is. Courage does not mean fear is absent. No. Courage just means that you see fear and you're still willing to do what God called you to do. That's all that courage is. So God is telling Joshua, yes, there's fear because you're looking at the size of the people, but just know the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Do you really believe that God is with you wherever you go? I know you sense fear, but you're still going to do it anyway. That's what courage is all about, because God is with you wherever you go. You're scared to try out for the team, think you're not talented enough, but just know God has been preparing you for this. And God is with you wherever you go. You fear going off to college because it's in a town you're not familiar with. You're about to leave your parents, leave your hometown. But God is with you wherever you go. You have to face that fear. When God wants to take you to a higher place, when God wants you to wants you to go into land of the unknown, a land flowing with milk and honey, you have to overcome that fear. And that's what courage is all about. If he brings you to it, he will bring you through it. He didn't leave you, he didn't bring you this far to leave you. And David knew that. David knew that God delivered him from the hands of bears and lions. So he's not going to have me fail this time. So that's where his confidence came from. See, when you lack confidence, when you lack courage, it's an insult to God. Because it's saying that you don't believe that he'll be there with you. It says that he won't be there walking hand to hand in this storm that you're dealing with, in this trouble, in this hard time, in this new season. That's what it's saying when you lack courage. And when you lack courage, it's saying that your fear is greater than your faith. So are you lacking courage right now? Are you lacking courage? Do you believe that God is for you? Do you believe that God is walking with you? We have to manage that our fear is not greater than our faith. Our fear is not greater than our faith, and it can't be. David's faith was way greater than, I'm sure he feared God a little bit. I'm 5'10". If somebody wanted to fight me and they're 9'9", I'm going to fear that. I don't know how much I have, but I'm going to try. I'm like, let's say this is going to happen. I don't know how this is going to happen, but we'll see. We'll take our chances. So you got to have a lot of faith to overcome that type of fear. But are you missing out on blessings because your fear is greater than your faith? Like I have a test. Like I missed out on an opportunity before because my fear is greater than my faith. And I had a good friend of mine had to come check me because I had an opportunity to perform with a well-known comedian, and I knew he had a nice following. So I purposely, all I had to do was mention, hey, can I open for you? He would have gave it to me. He said, I would have gave it to you. And I purposely didn't ask him because I was afraid. I was afraid of the moment. I knew the crowd, I knew the size of following he had, so I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for that moment. And so I purposely didn't say anything. And when it was over, he found out that I was a comic, and he said, how come you didn't tell me? And I didn't want to tell him the truth, like I was scared. But that was the real reason. And I had a friend that I truly value their opinion, come up to me and say, hey, you do all this preaching, saying that your faith should be greater than your fear, but yet you let fear win that round. She said you felt like you wasn't prepared for it. But you was well prepared for it. All that stuff you was doing and God brought you through in this preparation that he been doing was built for this moment. But yet you turned it down because you was afraid. Yeah, and it hurt my feelings a little bit. I shed a tear. I'm like, oh, you so right. But yeah, so we all have probably missed out on opportunities, missed out on doors because our fear, we lacked courage. But in this walk with God, it's important that we be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged because God is with you wherever you go. Don't let the moment, the size of the moment, discourage you. Let it excite you. Because one thing I realized doing in my walk with God was the bigger the moment, the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the mountain, the more God shows up and shows out. So God thrives when moments are big, when you feel like you're inadequate. This is when he thrives in. And so I want to tell y'all, don't let the size of whatever's happening in your life scare you. Just be excited about it and know that God is on your side. God has been preparing you for this moment. He did not bring you this far to leave you. Trust the process and trust that God is for you. So do not be discouraged. Don't be discouraged by the size of your opponent or the obstacle that's in your way. And that's what happened with Saul's army. They were discouraged when they saw Goliath. They were confident. Now, they lined up side by side. They was ready to go to war. But as soon as Goliath stepped out, they had hey, wait a second now. All right, y'all didn't have to bring him out here. I was good till he walked out. So they were discouraged by the size of Goliath. But David was not. David was just delivering food. And I'm like, wait a second, who is this dude? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? That's gangster words right there. But we get so caught up on the size. When we see, like, bigger does not always mean like it's stronger than you. We got to change our perspective of that. Look at all the short people. Yeah, I told you short people are good. Like, no. Everybody 5'5" and under. This is y'all testimony. But the size of Goliath discouraged Saul's army, except for David. Because David didn't put a lot of emphasis on the size of Goliath. He put more emphasis on what God has brought him through in the past. That's what David focused on. It was his perspective. He didn't look at Goliath as an obstacle. He looked at it just another opportunity for God to show up and show out. He looked at Goliath as just another hand God is going to deliver him from. That was his perspective when he saw Goliath. He didn't get scared. He didn't back down. And like, oh man, he gonna beat me up and no. No, he said, okay, this is just, look, God saved me from some bears. He saved me from lions. He gonna save me from this dude too. Okay, let's go. That's the type of attitude he had. It's all about perspective. This was nothing new to David when he saw Goliath. He said, I battled enemies like this before. He 9'9". I mean, it wasn't no 9'9" bear, but it was still vicious. And it would still kill him. Like, I can't imagine just fighting a bear. Yeah. I remember I had an internship in Springdale, Arkansas. My boss took me on his land, and he was like, I'm going to show you where I hunt bears. I said, no, I'm good. I do not want to know where you hunt some bears at. And then he going to tell me, oh, yeah, because black bears and all that. He told me a bear can climb a 30-foot tree in 3 seconds. I said, I can't even hop a fence that fast. I'm fine. No, I'm good. But that's what it's, so imagine, so that strength, that perseverance, that skill he gained fighting bears and lions, he just used to fight Goliath. That confidence he gained. And of course, in 1 Samuel, in 33rd verse, in 32nd verse, David said to Saul, don't let anyone be discouraged by him. Your servant will go fight this Philistine. But Saul replied, you can't go fight this Philistine. You're just a youth. And he's been a warrior since he was young. And I believe Saul said this for 2 reasons. First reason was that too much was on the line. The stakes were too high. Because earlier in the chapter, Goliath told Saul's army, choose one of y'all people to come fight me. And if they win, my people will serve your people. But if I win, then y'all have to serve me and my people. And so the stakes are pretty high for that battle. That's like, and so Saul, of course, he's not going to pick David, of all people. That's like me working for Uber Eats and I'm delivering some food at a boxing class. And now as I'm watching, the instructor teaches people how to box. I never boxed before in my life. And then Mike Tyson walks in and tells the instructor, choose one of these people to fight me. And if they win, I give everybody $1 million. But if I win, I take your whole gym. And then I tell the instructor, I'll fight him. The instructor like, no, you just a little person. You're not about to fight Mike Tyson. So of course he's looking at David like, you're not going to fight Goliath. I'm not going to choose you to fight Goliath because you're going to lose. And then I got to serve this man and his army. So that's the first reason. That was just a comical reason, in my opinion. The real reason he said no was because Goliath has been fighting since he was young. And he looked at David like he was a little boy. But he didn't know what David had on the inside of him. He just looked at David's outer appearance. He didn't see the battles with the bears and battles with the lions. He didn't see the preparation that God brought him through. What he saw was just a young dude, a cocky, probably young dude that think he could just beat down this 9'9" dude. Because he didn't know what David possessed. And I like this part because David hit Saul with that line from Color Purple, Sophia, like, all my life I had to fight. Exactly what he said. He was like, look, you don't know what I've been through. All my life I had to fight. Then he answered to Saul, your servant has been tending his father's sheep. Whenever a lion or a bear came and carried off a lamb from the flock, I went after it and struck it down and rescued the lamb from its mouth. First of all, I couldn't have been a shepherd back in the day. Because if they take one of my sheep, they just got them. I'm not. My father would be mad at me. Like, how many sheep did you lose? Like 4 of them. I need a gun or something. Like these, I ain't about to go wrestle a bear and lion. But that's what he did. He said, if it reared against me, I would grab it by its fur, strike it down, and kill it. Your servant has killed lions and bears. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. Then David said, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. David's confidence, and it's important, I really want y'all to grasp this concept. David's confidence was rooted in God's consistency. David's confidence was rooted in God's consistency. Because consistency brews confidence. Like, when you're confident about something, it's because it's been consistent. God has always showed up in your life. He's consistent. Even in times where you think he failed you, he never failed you. He just showed up in a way you didn't expect. So that's the only inconsistency part of God, is that we don't know how he's going to show up. But the consistency is that he's always going to show up. Because God is the same God in the past, in the present, and in the future. In the past, he was a deliverer. In the present, he's a deliverer. In the future, he's going to be a deliverer. So in the past, he was your healer. He was your waymaker. In the present, he's your healer. He's your waymaker. In the future, he's going to be your healer and your waymaker. It's all about God's consistency. He's consistently consistent. That's a tongue twister right there. He's consistently consistent. So if you don't remember that, write that down. God is consistently consistent. God is, was, is, and will be. He was, is, and will be. He was your provider. He is your provider, and he will be your provider. No matter what's going on, he was, is, and will be. And David understood that. David said, the same God that delivered me from this is the same God that's going to deliver me from that. So that's why when we're facing different challenges in our life, facing different mountains and opponents and storms or an opportunity, we need to just look back and see what God has already done for you. And that's what gives you the confidence you need. Your confidence should be rooted in God's consistency. Different battle, but same God. Different show, but same God. Different people, but same God. Different struggles, same God. Last year you struggled with anxiety. This year you're struggling with depression. Same God. He doesn't vary based on what you're struggling with. He's still going to do what he's been doing this entire time. And that's exactly what in this text David is telling Saul. The same God that did this for me is the same God that's going to do this for me. And Saul was like, all right, go ahead and fight him then. But that's the really point of this message I want y'all to see it was the behind the scenes of, like, we see the fight with Goliath, but why did he feel so confident to fight Goliath? It's because of God's consistency. It's because of the process that God had him go through. I'm pretty sure if he was no shepherd and he didn't have to fight with bears and lions, he wouldn't have the confidence he needed to fight Goliath. And that's why we can never despise small beginnings. Because God used David's position as a shepherd to train him, teach him, and grow him for Goliath. He used his position as a shepherd to train him for Goliath. David was prepared to fight because of all the training and confidence he learned while being a shepherd. So don't despise everything you're learning, and everything you learn as a shift leader at a restaurant is preparing you for something greater. You don't know what it is, but when you get to that point, like, oh man, everything I learned, I'm using it right now. Everything I learned during the process of being a comedian and writing and delivery and working with people and working with the crowd and all that stuff, I just wanted to be a better presenter for PowerPoint. But I didn't know that everything I was learning was preparing me to do this. So you never know why God got you where he got you. It's because he's trying to teach you and grow you into something that for his purpose. So you don't know everything you're learning. Being a GM at a restaurant is preparing you to run a church. So never despise small beginnings. David did not know everything he was learning as a shepherd was preparing him for Goliath. Fear will always exist in our walk with God. It's not going anywhere. But I want to tell y'all to have courage to go forward. Have courage to walk through that door. Have courage to fight that battle. Have courage to love. Like some of y'all fear love because of stuff in the past. Have the courage to love again. Have the courage to apply for that scholarship even though you feel like you're not good enough. To apply for that school even though you feel like you're not good enough. To try out for the team. To follow your dream. If God put it on your heart, if God brings you an opportunity, he's already prepared you for it. And that's why, so never belittle what you're going through now. And have confidence to know that the same God that was with me back then is the same God that's with me today. And the same God that's going to be with me tomorrow. Because our confidence should be rooted in the consistency of God. And that's all. That's all that David was wanting to show us. David wanted to show Saul. I feel like David was talking to Saul, but he was talking to us. Let him know that God is the same. No matter what. No matter what. And real quick, I want to point this out too, on how I want to point this out too in regards to the Goliath. His battle with Goliath was the opportunity he needed to take him to that next level. That's what, so it's all about, David was not meant to be there to hear Goliath, but how God aligned everything to happen. David was just doing his job. He was unknown, like nobody really, he was the youngest, and his father told him to go to the battle lines and check in on his brothers, give a good report, and that's all he was doing. But the way God's timing worked, that moment he went to go check on his brothers, he saw Goliath. And he heard all that trash Goliath was talking. And, and he just looked around like, yo, y'all heard this dude? Like, nobody gonna do anything? And I like how he brought up the fact that this dude is defying God. So when you feel like somebody so some of us are not fighters, but we feel like if something of value is being attacked, we fight for it. So that Goliath was defying God, and David knew his relationship with God. So David felt disrespected by it. So a lot of our stuff that we value are being attacked, but are you willing to fight for it even though you're scared a little bit? Are you willing to fight for something that's valuable to you? Like our confidence is very valuable. But some stuff is attacking our confidence and we backing down. Our courage is valuable. Our peace is very valuable. And something's attacking it and we backing down. We letting them win. But David was refusing to let that happen. And so he was ready to fight. And he didn't know just by him coming down to check on his brother, he was going to meet the opportunity that was needed to take him to the next level. Everything he did in private, God was ready to reveal in public. Everything that God had David. So a lot of times we get caught up on, and I feel like I'm unknown. I feel like nobody knows me. I feel like I'm being overlooked for a position. God is working on you during that time. And just give it some time. At the proper time, you'll reap a harvest. Not the perfect time, the proper time. And the proper time is God's timing. Perfect time is our time. So at the proper time, Goliath was David's proper time. Everything he learned behind the scenes, everything he learned in the wilderness when no one was looking, was giving him the strength he needed, was equipping him to fight the battle that was going to take him to the next level. So we all in our relationship with God, let's really and truly grasp the concept that we have to be strong and courageous because God is with us wherever we go. No matter what's going on, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're struggling with, it's the same God. God was, is, and will be. I hope this message really helped you. Thank you, Christ Temple Family Church.